My boys, I feel like day by day this year, we are slowly leaving the days of where lightweight and bantamweight were running the UFC, okay, and absolute marauders of divisions, okay, and now we're entering the phase where I feel like welterweight and middleweight are getting us through and cooking and slowly developing into now the best divisions that we got right now. So today, and a little bit of fantasy matchmaking, okay, I'm going to be doing every ranked fighter, current ranked fighter for welterweight, taking on every current ranked fighter for middleweight. Now, this is basically just going to be skill for skill, okay, it's not like a catchweight bout or whatever. I'm just going to be going over who I think personally would win and how these fights would go down skill for skill, and going over which division ends up with the most winners here and ends up being the more superior division, okay? Because both of them are riding highs of highs right now. So just getting into the first one we got here, man, number 15, going against number 15 here, MVP taking on Abu Smagomedov. This is a random ass matchup that we got here, fellas, but you know what? I'm going to take it, okay? I'm probably going to be going with MVP to win this one. He's just too elusive on the feet, you know what I mean? Like, in general, man, listen, I think that the head movement, the footwork, the fluidity of everything, like MVP striking is some of the best, the most precise, the most crisp that we have in the UFC right now, okay? And I understand that some of his fights have been a little bit of stinkers, but in general, you can't deny the dude is explosive, powerful, and fast as all hell on the feet. So clearly, he's going to have the striking advantage here over Abu Smagomedov, who honestly, people forget, man, all right? I think that Magomedov is kind of coming into a second run here. Not even a second run, not even a second wind, okay? I know that we thought that this dude was going to die a cardiac arrest every goddamn fight, but you know what? I like the improvements that he's been making. The cardio's been getting a little bit better. He's been getting a little bit more well-rounded by the day, you know what I mean? And in general, like, Magomedov, I feel like doesn't excel at one specific thing, but I feel like he's pretty good all around, you know what I mean? Not good to where I feel like he's going to be hanging and beaten with the top 5 and the top 10, but in general, Magomedov is well-rounded to where I feel like his best chances of beating a guy like MVP, who is, even though Magomedov has good pop behind his shots and he has solid striking, MVP, it's like night and day, you know what I mean? So I feel like the speed advantage as well, Magomedov, even on the feet, you know, he looks like he's kind of going through the mud a little bit, you know? So MVP, I feel like would just piece him the hell out. Magomedov's best chances of winning this fight, getting in the clinch as much as you can. I mean, honestly, man, taking this fight to the ground as much as he can, but MVP, he's solid in the clinch in his own right. He's got solid takedown defense, okay? Yes, it's possible to take him down, especially someone who is going to be a big, bad wrestler, okay? Someone who really, that's their strength, their bread and butter, one might say. But I don't think that's the case with Magomedov. I think that he's just, listen, I think that he's a good fighter, and I do think he's solid, but I think that he's just relatively mid enough, okay, to where MVP should be able to win this one. Maybe some kind of knockout, I feel like it'd be going down. MVP, he's precise, he's quick, I feel like he would find all the right shots, and again, Magomedov, he does kind of leave his chin open a bit, he is prone to getting caught on the feet, so yeah, MVP, I feel like would piece him up, maybe via some kind of late knockout here, or maybe like some kind of just, I don't know, 29-28 decision, okay? Magomedov, he's solid, but if he can't get this fight to the ground for most of the fight, he's gonna have a really rough time, okay? Even getting into the pocket with MVP is very, very difficult, you know what I mean? So in general, I'm gonna go with MVP. He's rangy, he's long, and he's dangerous, and Magomedov, solid, built like a brick fucking house, but in general, I don't think that his skill set's enough to take on MVP. So yeah, I'd be going MVP. That's one for the welterweights here. Moving on up next to number 14 versus number 14, Vicente Luque taking on Roman Kopylov. I'm going with the middleweight one here, okay? I'm going with Roman Kopylov. I like the improvements that we've been seeing a little bit in the grappling. You know, it seems like ever since he got submitted by Fluffy Hernandez, my boy, it seems like that, you know, hey, this guy got, people forget, man, this guy got a takedown in against Chris Curtis, who, you know what, say whatever you want about Chris Curtis' skill sets or all the nonsense that comes out on the mic, but you know what, he was piecing him up in that fight, you know what I mean? Say whatever you want about the stoppage, but yeah, he was piecing him up in that fight, and again, he got a takedown in on Curtis, who's got solid takedown defense, solid grappling, and is solidly well-rounded. So in general, Kopilov's kind of developing a bit here, okay? Luque, though, is clearly going to be the more well-rounded fighter here. He's able to finish guys on the feet. He's able to finish guys on the ground. He's explosive, relentless. He puts on a good pace. He's pretty kind of adaptable to, you know, kind of just being thrown in different situations, whether it be on the feet or on the ground. So Luque, he's flexible here, okay? He can kind of deal with uncomfortable scenarios or whatever, and he is well-rounded, but I just don't think he and his chin and whatever the hell I want to say it here, I just don't think he'd be able to really hang with the pace and pressure and just the dynamic, fucking explosive kickboxing and power of Roman Kopylov, you know what I mean? So Luque's best chances here is probably going to try and be able to take this fight to the ground, be able to get to the back of Kopylov, you know what I mean? And like, again, he is prone to getting caught in submissions. He is clearly going to be weaker down there than he is on the feet by miles and miles, talking about Kopylov here. But still, Luque's best chances, I feel like maybe he can find some kind of submission here. He does have good submission entries in general, and again, finishes guys on the feet and on the ground. So if Luque can take this fight to the ground and really make him stay down there, you know, really really prevent Kopylov from getting back up and really just kind of expose him to dangerous positions and is able to take his back, yeah, Luque can get it done, but I feel like Kopylov's striking is too good. It's too dynamic. It's too powerful. You know what I mean? He's not the quickest middleweight in the world or someone like that. You could argue Luque's got the speed advantage here, but in general, Luque is a good fighter, but there's a reason why he kind of wins one and then loses two. Wins one, loses two. He is very beatable. Like, the skill set's there, but this isn't exactly like the peak Luque we were dealing with from a couple of years ago when he was on a little bit of a run. So Kopylov is in his prime. He's dangerous. He's going to have the clear striking advantage here, and I think he'd be able to find all the right shots to take out Luque. You know what I mean? Luque's got a solid chin, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I'm going to be trusting in Kopylov here to get it done. Moving on up next to Carlos Prates versus Reinier de Ridder. Okay, number 13 versus number 13 here. Listen, I like Prates, and I do think that he would be, you know, I mean, skill for skill wise, I think he's better than a lot of the middleweight division and the welterweight division, you know what I mean? But in general, I'm gonna go with RDR here, okay? Because listen, if you're gonna be able to beat Prates, you gotta have some really good wrestling, okay? You know, Ian Gary was trying to shoot for his life, shooting for his fucking life, trying to get the fight to the ground, but he was really unsuccessful, so we really found out how good Prates' takedown defense is and how much his defensive grappling has just been developing in general. But Reinier de Ridder is not an Ian Gary on the ground. Ian Gary is trying to become one of those elite guys on the ground, and granted, it's kind of working. You know, I don't think his grappling is all that, but at least he's kind of going fight by fight and becoming more well-rounded. So Gary is solid. He's solid on the ground, but obviously he's going to want to, you know, kind of strike. I would say stand and bang, but maintaining the distance a little too much, a little bit of too much pitter-patter punches, you know what I mean? But in general, Prates, my whole point with this, his takedown defense looked good. But Ian Gary is not a Reinier de Ridder on the ground. De Ridder's grappling is his bread and butter, okay? He does have good power on the feet. His striking, you know, you got to put up a wet floor sign, all right, whatever. You got to make sure that he's going to accidentally flop into all the right shots, okay? And just get some Looney Tunes type knockout. He is very Dricus Duplessis like on the feet. Maybe not as much right now because DDP after the Strickland rematch is kind of becoming a little more technical, you know what I mean? People forget, man, but in general, De Ridder's grappling is very fucking good. He looks very good in the clinch. He lands really nice to the body. So I think that Prates is still, you know, even though that his takedown defense did look improved, he is still vulnerable down there on the ground, okay? And De Ridder puts on a really good pressure, okay? Not only on the feet, but on the ground as well. Like, he clearly, look at the Kevin Holland fight, okay? Like, he was able to just immediately the entire fight, he was just shooting to take this fight to the ground, really aiming to get a finish there, really trying to look for the submission, and he ended up getting it, okay? To be able to submit GM3, who's a full-blown grappler, okay? And especially, like, that's an old heads champion right there, okay? So for De Ridder to do all this, and then he's taking out Bo Nickel, who's got good grappling, like, he's kind of continuously facing grapplers here in general, like, not maybe specifically, but in general, like, these are guys with some solid grappling in their back pockets or their entire arsenal here. So for De Ridder to keep moving up and taking him out, Prates, man, he'd have to find that knockout and really take out De Ridder. And De Ridder has a good chin. Like, yes, he's sloppy on the feet. It is very Looney Tunes-like and all that, but still, Prates would really have to find all the right shots, and he would have to be kind of on the gas from the start, okay? None of that Ian Gary shit where he's kind of coasting for 3 rounds, and then when he realizes he makes it to the 4th and 5th, he's like, okay, now I'm still here. My cigarette lungs are still intact. It's time to take this motherfucker out. You can't do that with a Reinier de Ridder, you know what I mean? Especially if it's a 3-rounder. So, nothing against Prates and his skill set, and his takedown defense is improving, but RDR's grappling is just so dangerous to the point where I think he would be able to find some kind of submission here against Prates. I think he would be able to land some nasty ground and pound, you know what I mean? And be able to land really effectively in the clinch. So I'm going to go with Reinier de Ridder for this one. Nothing against Prates, but you know what I'm saying. Moving on up next to number 12, Stephen Thompson taking on Paulo Costa. This is one of those sneaky good bangers, man, okay? It's such a random ass fight, but honestly, I feel like it would play out really fucking fun. And you know what? For as good as I think Thompson is on the feet here, dude, actually, who the fuck am I going to go with here? I'm probably going to go with Stephen Thompson on this one, you know, and I know it's kind of weird because Costa's at this point where we're kind of questioning how mid is Costa or how good is Costa. I think Costa's a really good fighter, but in general, relatively, now that he's still here in the rankings right now, like, going against a guy like Thompson, listen, Thompson's at the very, very tail end of his career. He's not the fastest he's ever been. He's not the most precise he's ever been. You know, his striking is still excellent. It is still relatively quick in general, but I don't know, Costa might just be relatively mid enough here to where, honestly, I could see Stephen Thompson piece them the hell up. I feel like this would be a really fun fight, a really big back and forth, and honestly, Costa has just so many question marks right now. He was focused very much in the past few fights on kind of going round by round, trying to be patient and technical with it, you know what I'm saying? Kind of forgetting from the UFC on Fox days when he was actually a pressure fighter, actually had a good pace moving the fuck forward, you know what I mean? And was explosive and was actually getting a couple of finishes there, you know? In general, Costa's striking, it is good, and he does have, I mean, Jesus, man, you look at the guy and you think he would have some really good pop behind his shots, but honestly, especially in the last few fights, even against Luke Rockhold, man, like, he wasn't exactly landing these just purely devastating blows and really rocking people, you know what I'm saying? So Costa, despite the build, you could argue Stephen Thompson's got some more pop behind his shots here in general. So Stephen Thompson, he's very slick on the feet, okay, very precise with it, good footwork, great head movement, and again, getting up there in age, so he is getting a bit slower here, fight by fight. Again, he's probably only got one left. He's on the verge of retirement here, but his striking is still good enough and still dangerous enough to where I don't think he would go and knock out Costa, okay? I feel like it would be a pretty close fight. It primarily would be on the feet. I don't think Costa would really try to take this fight to the ground. It's just in general, like, both of these guys are primarily strikers here, and Stephen Thompson ain't gonna fucking shoot a goddamn takedown, you know what I mean? So if we're just talking against a guy like Costa, where it's just a striking battle here, again, Costa's got some good and solid striking, and I feel like in a fight against Kopylov, he's gonna go back to putting on the pace and pressure and try and look for a finish there, so that will probably be exciting to see. It's a great fight, but going against Thompson specifically, man, and the Kopylov fight hasn't even happened yet, so we still don't really know where he's at right now, Costa, that is. I'm gonna be going with Stephen Thompson here, okay? If Costa was more of a full-fledged wrestler or more of a well-rounded fighter, I'd probably be going with him here, but again, Costa kind of wants to stand and bang a bit, you know what I mean? Even if he is moving the fuck forward, you're going against Stephen Thompson, who's one of the best strikers in the UFC, you know what I mean? Even though he's getting up there in age, and again, isn't exactly the best version of Thompson, I'm still going to be going with him here. Moving on, up next to number 11 versus number 11, Jeff Neal versus Brendan Allen. You look at this fight, you look at the names of these two, you just see Neal versus Allen, okay? It's like two motherfuckers out of like the round SpongeBob universe going at it, okay? Hi, I'm Neal. Hi, I'm Allen. I'm going type shit, but I'm going to be going with Jeff Neal on this one, okay? I think that Brendan Allen is clearly going to have the grappling advantage here. Neal, he's a guy that's solid in the clinch, okay? There's a lot of fights where he spends a little bit too much time in there than we would like, okay? But in general, like, Neal isn't some kind of big grappler here, okay? But and I know that Allen is. It's primarily his bread and butter. It's how he wants to get shit done. But I'm going to trust in Neal having the clear striking advantage here and the clear power advantage here. Allen is just a guy who shows consistent low fight IQ at times, kind of puts himself in confusing or dangerous positions. We saw that against Fluffy Hernandez. We've seen it in recent fights in general, man. We saw it against Nasruddin Imavov, Jesus Christ, where he was looking good on the feet, but he was just shooting for his life and was just landed face first to the canvas there. So Allen shows low fight IQ, and his striking, I feel like, it's not bad, you know what I mean? It's not like awful complete strike in there, but it's not great, especially compared to a guy like Neal who has really good boxing. He has good power behind his shots, you know what I mean? And some fights of his are duds more than others. Again, sometimes he is a bit on the back foot there and sometimes spends a little bit too much time in the clinch, but in general, he still is a dangerous fighter. And honestly, it seems like he's kind of slowly making a little bit of improvements here. So Jeff Neal, I feel like if he can find all the right shots here and really control the pace and flow of the fight here and dictate where it goes, is able to efficiently get back up pretty quickly if Allen does get him down, because Allen probably would be able to get him down a few times, but I think that Jeff Neal, I mean, clearly the grappling isn't really his thing, but I feel like if he is able to efficiently get up enough, and if Allen isn't able to land some good ground and pound, and he's more so just trying to make it a smudge fest, and Neal is efficiently able to not take much damage on there, and is able to get back up to his feet relatively quick, and again, each fight starts on the feet, man, that's such a Joe Rogan thing. People forget, man, these two are marauders, but yeah, I'm going to be going with Jeff Neal. I trust in him having the better fight IQ. I trust in him having a better chin here. I trust in him just having the clear striking advantage and the power advantage. And Allen, I don't rate him too highly. You know what I mean? I think he loses to most of the middleweight division alone, let alone welterweight. So yeah, I'm going to be going with Jeff Neal here. Don't get me wrong, Allen get it done. He'll definitely get a few takedowns in if they did fight, but yeah, I'm going to trust in Neal. Moving on, up next here to number 10 versus number 10. Gilbert Burns taking on Marvin Vettori here, okay? Two guys definitely at the latter ends of their careers here. Marvin Vettori is as mid as ever, okay? Coming off of an absolute... What the fuck do I even call him getting like 50-45 by Roman Dolidze? I don't know, but in general, Gilbert Burns just got knocked the hell out, and he's coming off a loss after loss after loss. So this isn't exactly the most high-level competition that we have here. It's two guys that are clinging on to that top 10 spot because they used to be higher up, but they keep on losing, so it's like, oh, they're still here, okay? In general, I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns. I think that Gilbert Burns would take this one. Again, both these guys are not at the best versions of themselves right now, you know what I mean? They're definitely on a bit of a fall-off here, so you could clearly kind of argue that one is going to have, more advantages than the other one, or blah, blah, blah. But honestly, these guys are in a similar place in their career right now. And it is sad to say, you know what I mean? How the fuck is that even a question? But in general, I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns. Vettori is well-rounded. That's the crazy thing. Like, he is a solid fighter, but he's just... mid, man. He's just fucking mid, and he shouldn't be a top 10 fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, he does have solid striking. He does have solid grappling. He does have solid cardio. His chin is absolutely insane. He could take a beating like anybody else, all right? Him and John Jones, his wife, are the S tier of no, all right, I'm done. But in general, I think that Burns is just clearly going to have the grappling advantage here. And his striking is good enough and I guess slightly powerful enough. I don't know. I mean, that's purely just based off like the Chimaev fight and shit, all right? We don't really see Burns getting into too many scraps on the feet or has too many finishes on the feet. Granted, he does have a couple. He can get it done. His striking is good at times, but I feel like it just depends on the fight with Burns. You know what I mean? But in general, again, we're dealing with Vettori, who is well-rounded, but his saving grace is his chin. Besides that, there's really not much depth or really too much of anything to his skill set here. So Burns, I feel like he would just be able to find all the right entries to get the right takedowns here. I feel like he would be able to not easily, but efficiently control Marvin Vettori on the ground, maybe even find a submission. Vettori is solid down there, you know what I mean? But I'm going to trust in Gilbert Burns just having the clear grappling advantage, and he's solid enough on the feet and has a good enough chin to where he'd be able to hang with Vettori. Vettori isn't exactly flat-lining motherfuckers, you know what I mean? He looks like he would be the type to do it, but absolutely not. So I'm going to go with Gilbert Burns here. I think that his grappling advantage would be too much here. Moving on up next, speaking of the goddamn grappling, Colby Covington versus Fluffy Hernandez, number 9 versus number 9 here. I kind of love this matchup. This is something that we're never ever going to see, but in general, like, I feel like we're seeing a lot of the similar strengths between these two. Both these guys have great cardio. Both these guys are really good on the ground, and they're probably similar level on the feet here, but again, I feel like Colby Covington, maybe if this was 2 or 3 years ago, I'd probably be going with him, but I'm going with Fluffy Hernandez here, okay? Colby Covington, he's inactive as fuck, and in his prime, like, don't get me wrong, like, he does share very similar strength. I mean, he still does. He shares very similar strengths and weaknesses here to Fluffy Hernandez. They're stylistically pretty similar, and honestly, I feel like this would be a fun little grappler versus grappler matchup here, but Fluffy Hernandez, I feel like, is just the better, and honestly, just the more dangerous grappler in general, okay? He's just kind of different down there. People are calling this guy the middleweight Khabib, and USA Wrestling just kind of loses more and more credentials each year. I know these guys are both from the USA. You know what I'm fucking saying, though, okay? You know what you did. Colby Covington is just kind of more of the collegiate style, Bo Nickel kind of USA Wrestling, where Fluffy Hernandez, I feel like, is a bit more versatile down there, you know what I mean? And he's just he brings such a heavy pace and pressure down there. He's always hunting for the finish, you know what I mean? He's very slick with the takedown entries in general. He's good at finding submissions. And Fluffy Hernandez, man, like, he's just so good down there, and his cardio is good enough to maintain it, where I feel like he would kind of be constantly getting the fuck after it against Covington, foot all the way on the gas here, and I feel like he'd be trying to, you know, probably piece up Covington on the feet and then try and take this fight to the ground maybe in the second halves of each round, maybe a little bit earlier than that, you know what I mean? Covington, his takedown defense is very good. Again, the grappling is very good. So maybe this would be one of those fights where it does kind of play out primarily on the feet, you know, because a lot of the times when you do see big grappler versus big grappler, a lot of the times it does play out in the striking department. So honestly, let's just talk about that alone. I feel like both these guys, like I said earlier, are pretty similar skill set wise on the feet, but honestly, I'm going to trust in the power of Fluffy up there. I know sometimes it's a little bit sloppy and it's really not too great compared to his grappling and his cardio, but in general, Covington, man, there's just, from what I saw against Leon, from what I saw against fucking, who did you just fight? Joaquin Buckley, from what I've just seen in general, from like the Masvidal fight and shit, like the recent fights from Colby Covington, it's crazy to say that goes all the way back to 2021 or 2022. Covington's just inactive as fuck, that getting up there in age isn't going to help either here. I feel like he's just going to look slower on the feet, man, and again, I just haven't been impressed from these last few fights, what I have seen on the feet. You know, the 2 Usman fights, I mean, he looked great up there. Those are 2 of the greatest fights I've ever fucking seen as a fan, you know, but in general, Covington is just kind of slowly going down. His stock is dropping more and more. He's getting slower. Again, he's kind of going to rely more and more on the wrestling for each fight. And Fluffy Hernandez, he's getting even better. His striking is continuing to improve. He does have solid power up there. So again, if this fight went down 2 or 3 years ago, I'd be going with Colby Covington, but not right now, motherfucker. Not right now. I'm going to trust in Fluffy Hernandez. Moving on up next to number 8 versus number 8, Michael Morales versus Roman Dolidze. I really don't have too much to say about this one, man. This is such a random ass matchup, and I kind of fucking hate it here, but I'm going to go with Michael Morales here all day, okay? Roman Dolidze, I don't understand how this guy's on a bit of a run right now, okay? He's a bit of a Marvin Vettori where he is solidly well-rounded, but he's also kind of mid in general. Like, you're like, how the fuck is this guy in the top 10? You know what I mean? Roman Dolidze, the striking solid, you know, especially when he was earlier in the UFC, like, he was kind of getting knockout after knockout after knockout, but lately a bit of a decision merchant, and he's not exactly rocking motherfuckers on the feet, but his grappling solid as well, solid in the clinch, solid cardio, you know what I mean? Like, he can't get finishes, but he can go the distance. So, I don't know, Dolidze on paper is a solid fighter, man, and again, he's beating kind of a similar level of competition here every time, but I don't know, man. Like, he's also just so fucking mid at the same time. There's nothing in his skill set that really stands out or that he really just fucking excels in, you know? Compared to a guy like Michael Morales, who there are some holes in his game, you know, plus he is kind of one of the youngest welterweights in the rankings right now, so there's a lot of room to improve. But again, I feel like we're seeing him a lot more vulnerable to the holes in his game. Like, the dude really does leave his chin out there. He is very prone to big shots, and I feel like if he goes against a big power puncher soon, I feel like he could get a little exposed on the feet there. But his striking is really fucking good, you know what I mean? And he's a finisher on there as well. I know that some YouTubers have talked about this as well, but it's like, it's almost more impressive to kind of like repetitively go the distance against certain guys when you're moving up to a high level than just getting like round one knockout after knockout after knockout, and then all of a sudden they get to a top 10 guy and they have nothing for him, you know what I mean? Look at like a guy like Michelle Pereira. That's a fucking good example right there. So Michael Morales, he can go the distance, but he also knows how to get a first round finish. Okay, he's dangerous as fuck on the feet, but again, he does leave himself prone to big shots. But I don't think Dolidze is going to be the guy to land that mean right hand and absolutely take him out. You know, Dolidze's just mid enough to where I think Michael Morales would win. Honestly, man, some kind of, you know, round 1 or 2 knockout, or maybe just some kind of decision here. Again, he can do both. Morales is well-rounded as fuck. I know I just keep talking about the striking with him, you know, and leaving his chin open, but the dude's got good grappling as well. He's fucking well-rounded, and it goes to show how he's a perfect example of how the bar is being raised more and more for these up-and-coming UFC fighters. Like, you kind of have to know how to stuff takedowns, but you also have to fucking shoot them. You have to know how to take a big shot on the feet, but you know, you have to fucking be able to deliver it as well, you know? I know that was a clusterfuck of a sentence I just said, but you gotta give it and you gotta take it, you know what I'm saying? In all regards. Like, Michael Morales is the embodiment of a young guy in the come up right now, where it's like you kind of have to be this good now to get into the top 10. Dolidze's the goddamn opposite. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Michael Morales here. Moving on up next to number 7 versus number 7. Dude, this is a goddamn banger here, okay? We're never gonna see it, but it's fucking fun. Joaquin Buckley versus Jared Cannonier. Dude, this will be an absolute fun scrap. I'd be going with goddamn Joaquin Buckley all day, but Cannonier is a dog, man, okay? And I love that he got that win over RoboCop, okay? And he faced such adversity in the first round or two, and he just showed his experience. He showed that his chin is still able to hang with the best of them. And I mean, in general, like the Imavov controversial finish, you know, that was kind of bullshit. And then the Baraujo fight, it was actually a lot closer than people think. Baraujo clearly won, but it was a close fight, man. It was a competitive fight. It was really fun to watch. So it's just like Cannonier, man. Yeah, he's been losing lately, but you gotta look at these losses like, and again, they're onto like the up-and-comers of the division who are absolutely on tears right now. So Cannonier, he's continuously kind of just fighting down in the rankings, and I get why, you know what I mean? But he's been continuously fighting down the rankings and fighting young up-and-coming prospects and looking good against them. Like, yeah, he's been losing, you know what I mean? But he just fucking beat RoboCop, who's a fucking young prospect on the rise, and a good one at that. I don't think to the level of Imavov or Baraujo, but you know what I'm saying? So Joaquin Buckley, though, the reason I'm kind of ranting about all that, Joaquin Buckley is in a similar position. He is one of the young upcoming prospects, you know what I mean, who's been kind of moving up the rankings slowly but surely and continuously impressing us, man. So you know what, Joaquin Buckley, the reasons why I'm going with him, I mean, both these guys are solidly well-rounded, okay? Cannonier has really good ground and pound, okay? He's solid in the grappling department in general there, okay? Primarily is going to be a striker. He's a lot more comfortable standing and banging. He's a lot more comfortable in the striking department, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have good ground and pound. He knows how to mix it up at times, and his takedown defense is solid in its own right. Joaquin Buckley, though, man, is well-rounded as a motherfucker. I love that we're just seeing this dude develop before our own eyes, okay? It's some goddamn One Piece shit, alright? We're part of the story. But in general, Buckley, I mean, goddamn, the wrestling, he knows how to take you down, but he's got good takedown defense, okay? The striking, he knows how to knock you out, but he's also good at maintaining the distance, okay? Finding all the right shots, okay? But he's not afraid to get in the pocket as well. He's a dangerous striker, and he shows urgency to finish as the fight goes on, okay? I wouldn't exactly call him a slow starter, but once that third round hits, he gets the fuck after it, okay? And Jared Cannonier's a guy, too, who kind of gets, I don't want to say better as the fight progresses, because these guys aren't slow starters, but you know what I'm saying? They can consistently hold and maintain a good pace throughout the entire fight, and they really don't show too many signs of slowing down. So I feel like both these guys would be really hard to finish for each other, so I feel like it would kind of definitely go the distance here. They both have good chins. They're both hard to take out of there. Again, Cannonier's most recent finish loss was a bullshit one at that. You know what I mean? It was a very early bullshit stoppage against Imavov. So Cannonier has a great chin. He can hang with great shots, and Buckley's the exact same thing. It's hard to finish Buckley, man, okay? And he has great finishing ability on the feet, good wrestling, knows how to mix it up. Again, they're both well-rounded, but Buckley is just the younger, sharper fighter here, okay? Like, granted, it'd be a really fun fight to watch, but and Cannonier knows how to hang with the young bucks, but in general, I definitely feel like Buckley, oh wow, I didn't even do that on purpose. Joaquin Buckley, I feel like it's just younger, faster, sharper here right now, and would be able to kind of control the pace and flow of the fight and the pressure a bit more. You know what I mean? Cannonier is good off the back foot, don't get me wrong. And again, he can hang in a dogfight scenario, especially one that Buckley would bring. But I'm going to trust in Buckley here, okay? He's just well-rounded enough and just has a good enough chin enough and has good enough devastating finishing ability to where, yeah, I'd be going with Joaquin Buckley here. Moving on up next now to number 6 versus number 6. Ian Machado Gary taking on Kyle Barajo, okay? This is such a goddamn free spirit matchup here, bro. But you know what? I'm going to be going with Kyle Barajo here, okay? Honestly, Kyle Barajo's style, and I feel like is literally just what Ian Gary wants to be. You know what I mean? Like, Kyle Barajo is the epitome of what Gary is trying to be stylistically. You know what I mean? It's a guy who solid striking, solid pop-minded shots, but he's so comfortable in the grappling department to where you kind of got to be on your toes in all fucking regards. Barajo's very dangerous everywhere. He can knock you out on the feet, but he can find the right submissions and take you the fuck out of there and squeeze your goddamn head off, okay? He definitely is the most well-rounded of the 4 horsemen of the fighting nerds, and it shows. But Ian Gary wants to be a fighting nerd so bad, okay? He wants to be a Brazilian so bad. He wants to be a free spirit so bad, all right? But too damn bad, motherfucker, okay? And listen, I rate Ian Gary pretty highly, to be honest with you. Like, I picked him to beat Carlos Prates. I picked him to beat MVP, you know what I mean? I thought he was going to make that fight against Shavkat competitive going into it. He was like a plus 400. I didn't really understand why. But in general, man, like, Ian Gary is a good fighter. I know he's annoying as fuck, but people act like that means that the dude is shit at fighting. I get that most of the shit he says is bullshit, alright, whatever, but you can't deny that the dude is a good striker. He is active as fuck. He takes on all contenders, okay? And I can appreciate that, you know what I mean? I wish that more fighters were doing that and just fighting up or fighting down. They don't care, but they're active as fuck as well. They're willing to actually risk shit, okay? High risk, high reward. I can appreciate that shit about Gary, alright? Just watch all of his interviews on mute. Trust me, it'll make a lot better, okay? But like, I think that Gary, he'd be able to hold his own on the feet against Barajo here, okay? I feel like the striking exchanges, these guys are pretty similar in skill set there, but the difference is, like I was saying earlier, talking about Prates, Gary wants to be a full-fledged grappler so bad. He's trying to train with Oliveira and that whole team to become more well-rounded, and it is working, okay? He is becoming a lot better in the grappling department. He did have Shavkat's back. I know that some people don't rate that too fairly, and I get that, but he was able to take Shavkat's back. He was able to get Prates down, not too much, but at least a couple of times there, you know what I mean? And in general, like, he looked good in the clinch. It was boring as fuck, but he did look solid in the clinch against MVP. You know what I mean? Boring as fuck fight, but you know what I mean? Ian Gary is becoming more well-rounded, and his grappling is becoming better and better each fight, and he is young. Both these guys are young and have improvements to make. But again, Barajo, I feel like is already kind of there, okay? I feel like Barajo already does have the grappling that Gary wants. He is very good down there. And again, these two are probably similar in skill on the feet. Maybe you could argue that Ian Gary is the better footwork, more precise, all that. You could argue that Gary is the better striker, but I don't know. Barajo is good enough on the feet, has probably a better finishing ability in the feet too, to where I feel like it'd be competitive there. And so it just kind of leaves the cardio and the grappling. Both these guys have good cardio, but in general, the grappling, I feel like Barajo will be able to take over. Because that's the thing. If Gary shot on Barajo 20 times, he'd probably be able to take him down like 2 or 3. If Barajo shot on Gary 20 times, he's probably getting him down like fucking 12 to 15 times, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Gary is solid on the ground. I like the improvements he's making, and I rate him highly as a fighter. But Barajo, I think, would just be too much from here. Be an exciting matchup, to be honest. I feel like these guys have little advantages over the other here, but are also similar kind of in skill sets here to where, yeah, it'd be a fun fight, but in general, well, hopefully at least, you don't really know what Gary is much anymore. But in general, yeah, I'd be going with Kyle Barajo here. Moving on up next now, getting to the top 5, okay, we have Kamaru Usman taking on Robert Whittaker. Dude, these guys held it down for the UFC for the past couple of years, okay? Not much in the past couple years recently, but you know what I mean? Like, when both these guys were in their primes, okay, they were running their divisions a little bit, you know? And Whittaker, I understand, hasn't been champ for a long time, but he was still beating pretty much everybody besides like the Chimaev and DDP here occasionally. So Whittaker has proven over the years that even though he's getting a little bit older, he's still in his prime and he's still good enough to beat everybody else in the division besides that very, very upper echelon, you know what I mean? And against Kamaru Usman, I think it's the exact same way. Usman, even though he is still getting up there more and more in age, and we really have to see how the Buckley fight goes, I think he's a guy that even though he's getting really up there and on the verge of retirement, I still think he'd be able to beat most of the welterweight division. He's the second greatest welterweight of all time. And let's just talk about this fight specifically, man. Both these guys are very, very fucking elite. They know how to hang with the fucking young bucks, but they also can beat up the old heads, whatever the hell. They've been along for a long time. They have a lot of high-level championship experience, you know what I mean? A lot of 5-round main events. They have very good fight IQ. They have very good cardio. They know how to finish, but they also can get shit done for over 5 rounds, you know what I mean? They're good at kind of putting on the pressure and putting on a good pace, but they know how to kind of get on the back foot and be very patient and technical at the same time. They're very good at kind of adapting to different shit throughout each fight. You know what I mean? Who am I going to be able to go with here? I'm probably going to go with Kamaru Usman, even though he is getting up there and Whitaker is technically kind of in his prime. I know it's crazy to say because he won the belt a goddamn decade ago, but yeah, he's only 32 or 33 or whatever, but maybe 34. I don't know. But in general, all right, I'm still going to go with Usman, okay? This is a fight where I know I'm talking about just skill for skill wise. I'm not exactly talking about catch weight or fighting in a specific weight class, but this is a fight where if these guys fought at 170, I think Usman will beat him. And if Usman moved up to middleweight, all right, he was bulking up maybe, or even if he didn't over the past year and a half, I still think he'd be able to beat Whitaker, you know? So in general, man, Usman, I just think that both these guys are pretty strong in all regards. They do have good striking, okay? Their finishing ability, again, a bit on and off, but they do have good striking, okay? They do have good wrestling. They know how to mix it up. Again, they have good enough cardio to where they can go over 5 rounds, you know what I'm saying? But in general, Usman, I feel like he's a little bit sharper, okay? I feel like he's just a little bit quicker, a little bit sharper, a little bit more precise, okay? A little bit more dangerous, okay? Probably I feel like he's more efficient with getting the takedowns in. Whitaker knows how to mix it up and is able to get a solid amount of takedowns in general. But Usman, he's got good defensive grappling as well, so I feel like if Whitaker's shooting on him, be able to stuff a lot of that, but Usman I feel like would be more efficiently able to get Whitaker to the ground. So yeah, I feel like Usman has the slight striking advantage here and the slight grappling advantage here, and their fight IQ and cardio is pretty similar. But yeah, I'm gonna be going with Kamaru Usman here. I trust in him being the second greatest welterweight of all goddamn time. I think he's got just slight enough edges to where I see him getting it done. It'd be a really fun fight though. I would love to see this at any goddamn time, you know what I mean? Moving on up next to number 4 versus number 4, Leon Edwards, bro, taking on Israel Adesanya. You already know this would be a boring as fuck fight, bro, okay? Nobody wants to see this shit, dude. It'd be boring as hell. Who am I gonna go with here? Honestly, I'm gonna go with Adesanya, okay? I know both these guys are on losing skids here and shit like that, but yeah, Adesanya, both these guys are very patient, technical, okay? They know how to maintain the distance very well. They're comfortable on the back foot, okay? They're very precise with it. Pretty accurate strikers in general who do have solid takedown defense, okay? So they're stuffing a lot of dudes out of their takedown, or there's oh my fucking god. They're stuffing a lot of the takedowns that their opponents are throwing on them, okay? But that doesn't mean they're impossible to take down. Bilal is able to take down a guy like Leon. There's people that are able to take down Adesanya, you know what I'm saying? So in general, they have similar styles here, okay? Their fights kind of play out kind of similar, but in general, I'm going to go with Adesanya here. I just feel like he is the better striker. He does have just kind of more experience up at that higher level and has kind of fought better caliber of competition at times, you know what I mean? So I'm going to trust in Adesanya here. I feel like he's going to have the better fight IQ. You know, he's not afraid to stink it up. Both these guys are, but I feel like Leon Edwards accidentally stinks up fights. It's just part of his style. He's just overly patient and technical, you know what I mean? Kind of has low output. Whereas Adesanya, there are times where he does show a high output, okay? There are times where he does, you know, have a lot more devastating finishing ability than others. You know, I could see an Adesanya knockout here being a possibility, but there's no chance in hell I could see an Edwards knockout being a possibility, you know? Adesanya isn't always the biggest finisher in the world, isn't always the most exciting, isn't always getting the fuck after it, but he is a lot more capable of it. Like, it is in his back pocket. Like, it is something that he's shown before, whereas Leon Edwards is not really good against guys who move the fuck forward. He's not good with pressure fighters. He's not good being in uncomfortable situations, and I feel like Adesanya would be able to kind of control and dictate the pace and flow of the fight to where he controls where the hell he wants it to go. He would be able to control the pace and flow in the feet, and I feel like he'd be able to find all the right shots. He's the more powerful and precise striker here to where Edwards is good on the feet. He does have all good offensive and defensive grappling, but in general, I'm going to trust in Adesanya here. I don't think Edwards would really even try and take this fight too much to the ground. Maybe he'd be able to get Adesanya down a couple times, but I feel like, again, the takedown defense is good enough to where maybe not, and if this fight really is just playing out on the feet and Edwards isn't mixing it up, I'm going with Israel Adesanya, man. He just is the better striker. He does have the better fight IQ. He is more dangerous. So yeah, moving on up next year, man, to Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Khamzat Chimaev, okay? Number 3 versus number 3. This is a battle of the Neanderthals, okay? This fight would have gone down 1,000 years ago to determine who would rule the goddamn world. So in general, who am I going with here? I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev, okay? All day. Listen, I think that Shavkat Rakhmonov, I've been open about this on the channel. I think that he is overrated. I was saying this before the Ian Gary fight as well, man. Like, I do think that the dude is overrated. He's dangerous. He's good. He's well-rounded. He looks good in the clinch. He lands nice to the body. He's a absolute fucking finisher. He puts on a good pace and pressure. Some fights are absolute fucking stinkers, you know what I mean? The Stephen Thompson one and the fucking, the Ian Gary fight I just mentioned, shit like that. But in general, man, that doesn't mean he doesn't know how to get the fuck after it. It doesn't mean he's not good at moving the fuck forward and controlling the fight, man. Shavkat, man, he's well-rounded and dangerous in all regards. He can knock you out on the feet, but he's able to submit you as well, man. Shavkat Rakhmonov, He is well-rounded. He is kind of dangerous in all regards, but I still, coming back to the fact that where I think he's overrated, I think that he's going to lose to a lot of kind of like that upper echelon, you know what I mean? And I think that Khamzat Chimaev is that. I think that Khamzat Chimaev's grappling is just above Rakhmonov's, okay? There's no chance in fucking hell that someone like Ian Gary would ever be able to find the back of Khamzat Chimaev, let alone even get the fight to the ground. If the fight was ever on the ground going against a guy like Ian Gary, who again, I just yapped about him, okay, you know how I feel about that, but Khamzat Chimaev, it's just the grappling is too damn much. He'd be able to efficiently pick up a guy like Ian Gary, put him the fuck down within the first 20, 30 seconds of the fight. Probably has a really good chance of getting a round 1 or 2 sub, you know what I'm saying? Or at least beating him the fuck up over 3 rounds. So Khamzat Chimaev, man, I feel like the grappling is just too much. I feel like in those situations where Ian Gary almost had Rakhmonov out of there, dude, 10 out of 10 days, Chimaev would actually be able to finish that fight. You know what I mean? Chimaev would be able to, in my opinion, make Rakhmonov look like he doesn't fucking belong if these two guys actually fought, okay? Chimaev is just too good at getting the takedowns. He's too good at racking up people down there with the control time and just finding all the right shots down there. He has good ground and pound as well. Clearly, he's more of a submission guy. Like, he's trying to fucking choke your head out. That's more where he's going to want to take the fight if he is getting it to the ground. You know what I mean? But in general, he's just so much more dangerous on the ground comparatively to a guy like Rakhmonov. And again, if we're just talking about the striking, I mean, Jesus, man, maybe it would be pretty similar in their skill sets. You know, maybe I would rate Shavkat's striking a little bit over Khamzat Chimaev's. But Chimaev has good enough striking and powerful enough striking to where that could be a back and forth fucking war. And Chimaev is such a heavy pace and pressure fighter, okay, to where he would just drown Rakhmonov in there. And I don't think Rakhmonov would be that comfortable on the feet or on the ground going against Chimaev with the heavy pace and pressure and him being fucking dangerous, man. Both these guys, like I said, dangerous in all regards, but Chimaev, it's crazy to say because they're top 3 fighters in the world, but he'd be able to show a level here, a level difference against Shavkat Rakhmonov, you know? So I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev here. I feel like he'd be able to submit him. I feel like he'd be able to beat him up on the feet. Shavkat Rakhmonov would make it competitive as fuck. Don't get me wrong, okay? It's not simply easy to take off Rakhmonov, but I am confident in this one here, okay? Rakhmonov's good, well-rounded, dangerous, but Chimaev is the exact fucking same, but his grappling is just levels above to where I think he'd get it done, okay? And the cardio problem, I know that's a thing with Khamzat Chimaev, so if this was a 5-rounder or something, and obviously the fight gets into rounds like 3, 4, 5, clearly I'm going to be favoring Rakhmonov more and more and more. He definitely has even better chances of taking out Chimaev, you know, even by a goddamn finish. But in general, I'm going to be going with Khamzat Chimaev here, okay? And also, this would be a really sick fight, okay? Let's just fucking say it, all right? Again, Neanderthal versus Neanderthal, who gets to rule the world? Undefeated fighter versus undefeated fighter. It would be really sick, you know what I mean? Moving on up next to number 2 versus number 2 here, okay? Sean Brady taking on Sean Strickland, okay? Both the Seans, and honestly, one of the best USA grapplers in Brady and one of the best USA strikers in Sean Strickland. This is actually a sick as fuck fight, okay? And Brady's clearly going to have the grappling advantage here. Strickland's clearly going to have the striking advantage here. So I kind of want to know how this fight would play out. Both these guys are going to have big edges over the other. Sean Strickland isn't exactly weak on the ground. He does have good takedown defense, and you don't see him shoot too often, but when he does, he usually is getting motherfuckers down, you know what I mean? And his defensive grappling, you know what I mean? Like, he has really good takedown defense. Like, Dricus in the second fight didn't even bother shooting on Sean Strickland that much, or really even much at all, because he knew that, like, Strickland efficiently gets to his feet really fucking quick. We saw that in the first fight against DDP. Like, if you're able to get Sean Strickland down, it's hard enough to do as it is. It's hard to get Sean Strickland down. He does have good takedown defense. But if you are actually able to get him to the ground, Jesus Christ, it's hard to keep him down there, man. He pops up efficiently as fuck, man. He's able to get back to his feet pretty goddamn quick. So if you are taking down Strickland, which I think that Brady would be able to a few times in this matchup, I just think that Strickland would be able to efficiently get back up maybe in like 20, 30-second exchanges here. Maybe a little bit more than that, because I think that Brady is a really good grappler, you know what I mean? And Sean Strickland, again, that definitely is kind of his weak point here. I feel like that Sean Strickland would have the cardio advantage, the striking advantage here. The difference in Strickland's grappling versus Brady's striking here is to where Sean Strickland, like I said, he'll be able to get back up pretty quick or stuff a lot of Brady's takedowns, okay? But the thing about the fight, if it plays on the feet, Sean Strickland would be able to piece up Sean Brady, okay? As I know that he's the king of the split decisions. I know that he's on the back foot heavily. I know he focuses a lot more on defense than offense, okay? That is a bit frustrating with Strickland here, but if he's able to actually have a good pressure and set a good pace, okay, and then take the cardio to his advantage here and really find all the right shots, okay? Understand that Brady is vulnerable to big shots. Understand he has been finished and TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad, the pillow puncher, okay? I know Strickland's not a big finisher on the feet either, but at least he knocks out Brendan Allen. At least he knocks out Abus Magomedov. That win's aging well. So I feel like Sean Strickland honestly has the power and the clear night and day striking advantage to where I could see him knocking out Sean Brady, or at the very least, piecing him the fuck up on the feet. You know what I'm saying? Brady's striking, I feel like, even though it has been improving, it has looked improved in his past couple fights, especially the Leon Edwards fight, okay? I just think that Strickland is able to at least kind of hang with Brady on the ground. I mean, Brady's still going to have the clear grappling advantage here, okay? But in general, the level on the feet, I feel like it's just different, man. Strickland would be able to have that clear advantage and piece him the fuck up, especially if he's moving the fuck forward, especially if he's really controlling the pace of the fight and putting Brady in uncomfortable positions on the feet and getting up efficiently on the takedowns, man. Like, I think that Strickland, I haven't even said who I think is going to win this one yet, but I'm going to go with Sean Strickland. I know that's crazy as fuck to say here because you'd think that Brady would just be able to choke him out in 3 rounds or whatever, but again, Strickland's defensive grappling is good, man, and I think that he's not going to exactly take down Sean Brady. He doesn't fucking need to, though, okay? He just needs to efficiently get the hell back up and stuff a lot of the takedowns, avoid dangerous submission attempts, okay? And again, Brady just doesn't have a lot of power on the feet. He doesn't have finishing ability on the feet, really, okay? He leaves himself prone to big shots. His striking isn't too good, man. I do think, again, it's been improving for sure. It's been improving for sure. The point is, I just don't think that Brady will be able to hang on the feet to the level that where Strickland can hang on the ground. So yeah, I'm going to go with Strickland here, probably by some kind of decision here, you know, maybe some kind of late TKO or something like that, but yeah, that's what I'm going to be going with here. Strickland is fucking good. People just kind of forget, you know what I'm saying? So, and don't get me wrong, Brady is really good. His grappling is going to be a big problem for a lot of strikers, okay? Edwards is primarily a striker, and look what happened in that fight. So Brady, he is going to be dangerous for a lot of strikers and just a lot of guys in general for the division. But again, we're dealing with number 2 versus number 2. Both these guys are high level, you know? I know Strickland's coming off of losses, but loss in general, but you know what I'm saying. Moving on to the last one we got here, okay? Number 1 versus number 1. Bilal Muhammad versus Nasruddin Imavov. Hey, you know, I'm going to go out there. I'm not even going to shoot a single takedown against this guy, you know? I went against the game plan. I'm going to piece him the hell up. Nasruddin Imavov and Muhammad. Actually, this is kind of a sneaky good fight, okay? It is really high level what we're going to see here, okay? Both these guys are kind of the clear number 1 contenders in different regards. Muhammad was the champion. Imavov is on an absolute tear right now for the division, okay? Really kind of making his way up slowly but surely, okay? And the way he's progressing makes sense. So both these guys are very high level. They are deserving of that number 1 spot in the world. But my pick here, okay, I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad. I know it's goddamn crazy, all right, because I know a lot of y'all hate him. I know he's coming off of the loss or whatever, all right? Hey, you know, go ahead and keep hating on me, all right? Your hate just makes me stronger. But in general, man, Bilal Muhammad, his striking and his boxing, I feel like is solid enough, okay? He lacks finishing ability for sure, but he's good enough of a pressure fighter on the feet, pressure fighter in general, but he's good enough on the feet, has good enough boxing, okay? It is crisp enough to where I think they'd be able to hang on the feet with Imavov and avoid getting finished. Now, that's the big thing, okay? Imavov is definitely going to have the striking advantage, okay? He's definitely going to have the power advantage. But in general, Muhammad, his chin is really good to where I can't see Imavov knocking him out, okay? If JDM isn't knocking him out, if Edwards isn't knocking him out, okay? If these other guys that are around similar power and shit like that aren't able to really knock out Bilal Muhammad, I mean, he's gone and shown that he does have a really good chin. Stephen Thompson, Gilbert Burns, shit like that, man. Like, Bilal Muhammad has a good chin. Imavov is a finisher on the feet. He does have good pop behind his shots. He's good at moving the fuck forward as well. Good at kind of controlling the fight. But in general, I don't think he's going to be able to knock out Muhammad. And honestly, if that's not the case, I don't think Imavov will be able to do it or be able to get the win here. He is definitely capable of it. I just think that Bilal Muhammad's grappling is just going to be better here, okay? Imavov is good on the ground, okay? We've seen him in a couple of uncomfortable scrambles there, okay? We've seen him in uncomfortable positions on the ground. But in general, man, like, he's well-rounded. He's good at shooting takedowns. He's good in the offensive grappling department. He's good in the defensive grappling department, okay? The dude is a full-fledged, well-rounded fighter, okay? But I don't know, man. Bilal Muhammad is going to be able to hang on the feet with him. I feel like he'd be able to take his biggest shots, even if he's moving the fuck forward here, okay? And he's not able to take on Muhammad. He's like, how the fuck is this guy still here? That's the thing, man. Muhammad, I feel like as the fight progresses more and more, it's just going to favor him. You know what I'm saying? The guy has cardio for days. He has really good fight IQ. Say whatever you want about that in the JDM fight, but in general, good fight IQ. He's a heavy pressure fighter who can hang enough on the feet to where I feel like he'd be able to take Imavov's biggest shots. Now, again, Imavov does have good enough grappling to where he could stuff a lot of Bilal Muhammad's takedowns. I could totally see that being a possibility. And where it's a fight where maybe Bilal Muhammad only gets him down like once or twice every other round or something like that, okay? But even still, I feel like in the striking department, Bilal would kind of be able to hang with Imavov's biggest shots and be able to hang with his pressure to where, I mean, again, Bilal Muhammad's good at kind of controlling the fight, controlling where it goes, moving the fuck forward to where again, this would be really competitive. It would be a back and forth, okay? These guys have advantages over the other, but I feel like Bilal will be able to hang with his best shots and be able to mix it up efficiently enough, barely to where I think he would be able to get a decision win here, okay? Imavov, maybe he could knock him out. Maybe he could rack up a decision, okay? Maybe he's the one that's taking down Bilal Muhammad, you know? But based off what I see out of Imavov's skill set and what I see out of Bilal Muhammad, I know it's crazy to say, but I'm going to go with Bilal here. There's a reason he was the former champion, okay? He is a lot more well-rounded than people think. His striking is better than people think. He just lacks the fucking finishing ability, and that's a big problem for him. Whereas Imavov is a pretty solid finisher, man. You know what I mean? So Bilal Muhammad has a good fucking chin. He is beatable, but to be able to finish him is a different story. And again, Imavov knows how to mix it up. Imavov is well-rounded, okay? Imavov knows how to move the fuck forward. So maybe he would be able to beat Muhammad, okay? I could maybe see it. We're dealing with number one versus number one here. These guys are very high level, but I'm going to trust in the skill set and the recent improvements from Bilal Muhammad, okay? The thing is, too, I mean, Bilal Muhammad probably does only have a fight or two left. He's on the tail end of his career. He's like 37 years old. And Imavov is in the middle of his prime and looking better than ever and progressing more and more every fight. You know what I mean? I think he beats most of the middleweight division. But dude, I think Bilal Muhammad beats most of the welterweight division. You know what I mean? We're dealing with high level shit here. So one of these guys has to lose. And I think that Bilal Muhammad would be able to beat Imavov, who, again, I rate highly. Imavov's a really good fighter. He definitely presents problems for Dricus and Hamza. But yeah, I'm going to go with Bilal Muhammad here. But anyways, boys, that is going to be it here for the video, man. Thank you guys so very much for making it this far, giving me y'all's time and attention. Please, why don't you give that video a little like, all right? I would appreciate it hella. Why don't you give it a little subscribe, all right? I appreciate y'all, man. We just hit 1,000 subscribers. It absolutely means the world to me. So I appreciate y'all a lot, man. Thanks so very much for making it this far in the video, dude, and give me your time and attention. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We're just here to shoot the shit on some MMA. Let me know what you think of these fantasy matchups. Let me know who you think would win, who would lose, which ones did I get right, which ones did I get wrong, which ones would you be the most excited for? Let me fucking know in the comments below. I want to hear your opinions, man. We're just here to shoot. So appreciate y'all so very much for making this far. All the smoke here. Thank you guys so very much again for 1,000 subscribers. It means the world. Hope you guys have a good one, and I will see you all next time.